They say history is written in blood, in whispers, in the quiet rustling of palm leaves on nights when the ocean holds its breath. But sometimes it is written in iron. Cold, sharp, gleaming iron, nails, forged in distant lands, carried across oceans by men who believed they owned the world. And on a warm Tahitian shore in the 18th century, those nails, humble and ordinary, became currency. Not for trade in spices or cloth or food, but for something far darker. Something that still echoes like a warning through the corridors of time. The year was 1769. A new sun rose over the Pacific, spilling molten light across a paradise that European eyes had only dreamed of. Tahiti, emerald mountains rising from sapphire seas, air thick with the scent of flowers and salt, waves humming like ancient hymns. A world where time moved with the tides, not clocks. A world untouched by the steel and ambition of empire. A world about to be rewritten in ways no one could yet understand. Into this peace sailed His Majesty's ship, the Endeavour, a wooden wham of exploration, creaking with maps and muskets, curiosity and arrogance, discipline and hunger. On board, a man whose name would burn into history, Captain James Cook. To some, a scientific genius. To others, a harbinger of empire, and behind him, officers, naturalists, and sailors, weary, sun-charred, eyes filled with longing for land, for comfort, for anything beyond the endless heaving ocean. They came with purpose, to observe the transit of Venus across the sun, to chart new realms, to leave marks upon a world they believed was theirs to catalogue. But science is never alone on voyages like these. It travels with hunger, desire, fear, and the unpredictable, primal trembling of cultures colliding in the dark. The British stepped onto Tahitian soil expecting curiosity, perhaps caution. What they found was something else, a welcome that felt almost unreal, smiles, gifts of fruits and flowers, songs that drifted like silk through the humid air. Tahiti had not yet learned to fear the steel hearts of empire. To them, these arrivals were travelers, visitors from another world, strange but wondrous. They came offering coconuts, cloth, fresh fish, gestures of peace, gestures of trust. And then, slowly, a different kind of exchange began. It happened quietly at first. A whisper here, a gesture there. British sailors, rough-handed and lonely, found themselves approached with shy smiles, with curiosity, with a cultural openness they could not and did not understand. In Tahitian life, intimacy did not carry the shackles of shame or property. It was part of nature, like wind, like rain, like breath. But the sailors' pockets held metal, iron, those small sharp strips that could build homes, carve canoes, shape futures. To Tahitians, iron was magic, a miracle from a world beyond the horizon, a thing of power. And to the British, it was trivial, common, replaceable, nails, mere fragments of shipboard life. And so hands reached out, eyes met. Words could not bridge the worlds between them, so gestures did the talking. A nail offered. A smile returned. A misunderstanding born in innocence, manipulated by the desperate, the lonely, the human flaws of men shaped by empire and deprived of comfort. In this exchange, this tragic collision, lay the seeds of pain too deep to see in that moment. Because what Tahiti offered in openness, the British interpreted as permission. What Tahiti saw as gift and curiosity, the British saw as transaction. And what began as cultural difference soon became exploitation, quiet, creeping, veiled in the language of trade, but rooted in power, in hunger, in the imbalance between a world of iron and a world that had never needed it. Cook noticed, officers noticed, some recoiled, uneasy with what they saw unfolding beneath palm fronds and moonlight. Others, hardened by months at sea, looked the other way. Some encouraged it, believing themselves explorers entitled to the land and the bodies within it. And Tahiti, generous Tahiti, unaware that the gears of empire grind slowly at first, did not understand the danger in giving trust to those who saw the world through the barrel of conquest. Soon nails vanished from the ship in handfuls, pockets bulging with metal pilfered to barter in whispers and shadows. What the British valued least, Tahiti valued most. And so the exchange spiraled, tightening around both worlds like rope around wrists. Cook, disturbed, set rules, threatened punishment, tried to stem the tide. But sailors are sailors, and desire mixed with opportunity becomes a current stronger than command. In the quiet nights, beneath stars bright enough to carve wishes into the sky, songs drifted from Tahitian homes. Drums murmured like hearts beating in the dark. Laughter floated, tinged with the innocence of a world not yet broken by foreign greed. But in corners unseen, iron gleamed in firelight, and the seeds of sorrow rooted beneath hibiscus and palm. What did the Tahitian mothers think, as they watched strangers walk among them with restless eyes and clinking pockets? What did the fathers feel, seeing the hunger in men who claimed to come for science but carried desire like muskets? And what of the young women, those who offered curiosity, not realizing the difference between gift and price in foreign tongues? Empire arrives silently at first, not with cannons, but with curiosities, not with soldiers, but with sailors, not with war, but with trade. And in the wake of nails glinting like fish scales came sickness, came sorrow, came the realization that paradise is never safe when iron sails approach its shores. Cook's journals recorded the exchanges, carefully, solemnly, acknowledging the strangeness, the unease, the cultural gulf. He did not celebrate it. He documented with the cool eyes of a man who understood history as it formed beneath him. Knowing even then that something irreversible had begun, Tahitian leaders tried to understand, to control, to protect. But how do you defend against hunger you cannot see? The British believed they brought civilization, knowledge, enlightenment. Yet in their pockets they carried disease, not only of body, but of mind. Ideas of ownership, transaction, hierarchy, ideas forged in cold factories and royal halls far across the world, and Tahiti, with its open arms and open hearts, felt those ideas seep into its soil like spilled oil into clear water. Days bled into weeks, weeks into months. Canoes gliding past the Endeavour grew fewer. Laughter faded. Suspicion seeped into paradise like shadows at dusk. Where flowers once greeted strangers, now wary eyes watch from behind woven mats. What had begun as curiosity became caution. What began as welcome began to tremble with regret. The British sailed away eventually, leaving footprints on sand that waves would erase, but history would not. They left behind iron tools, small gifts, seeds, and the echo of hymns sung to foreign gods. But they also left scars, invisible at first, then spreading like cracks in sacred stone. The Tahitians would never see the world the same way again, and neither would Europe. Because when Cook returned to Britain, his tale of paradise, lush, warm, giving, spread like wildfire, paradise invites pilgrims, and pilgrims bring colonizers. Soon others followed, armed not with curiosity but ambition, and the gentle exchange of nails for trust became memory, then warning, then legend, a moment when flesh met iron, when cultures collided not in war but in misunderstanding, power imbalance, and sorrow. But listen closely, for beneath this story, deeper than waves and more ancient than empire, lies a truth whispered by time. Paradise does not fall in a single blow. It erodes, grain by grain, breath by breath, trust by trust. And sometimes it begins with something as small as a nail. The ocean remembers, the mountains remember, the descendants remember. Songs still carry the weight of that first contact, that fragile bridge between innocence and invasion. And the wind through coconut trees still murmurs of those days, when nails glinted like temptation, when laughter masked unease, when paradise welcomed strangers and learned too late that not all gifts are given freely. This is not a tale of romance. It is a tale of costs, of cultures meeting not on equal ground, but along a fault line trembling beneath bare feet. a tale where the greatest tragedy is not violence, but the softness that trusted the steel. For history is not just battles and kings. Sometimes it is this, a quiet beach, a handful of nails, and the slow, sorrowful unraveling of a world that did not yet know what empire looks like when it smiles. And somewhere, in the great silence between stars and waves, the past watches us, whispering remember, because history does not repeat. It only waits for us to forget. If stories like this shake you, if they remind you how fragile civilizations truly are, then don't let this moment fade into silence. Hit subscribe, join our journey through the forgotten edges of history, and stand with us as we uncover the truth. Piece by fragile piece, voice by trembling voice, because the past never dies, it only waits to be remembered. And together we will remember it. If this story moved you, subscribe and walk with us into the shadows of history. The past is whispering, and we're here to listen.